Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hello. You're welcome to another episode of the 10x Developer
My
Podcast.
precious.
Yeah. So you're welcome. I don't know where you're watching us from, but thank you very much for watching us today. And then it's yet another week on AI. We are going to discuss a lot of interesting topic. Um, a lot of things happened these past few weeks, and we are going to touch a lot of points. I can remember something happened, ChatGPT talking about bringing back the old model. We're also going to talk about maybe some of the new models that were launched by Facebook, and a lot of other interesting stuff. So, Neil, where do you think we should start today?
Well, let's start with ChatGPT.
Yeah, obviously,
So
ChatGPT, yeah, the biggest
yeah,
guys.
so so the GPT-5 is out, right? I mean, we talked about this last week. There
Yeah,
was an interesting backslash about their release. We talked about this too. When they released, they turned off all the models. If you go to
yeah,
ChatGPT, or now they have fixed it, but last week if you go to ChatGPT, we only saw like GPT-5
yeah,
and just only that option. So it turns out that lots of people sort of developed an attachment. I mean, this thing's going to happen now, right? We're going to start building emotional relationship with AI. So lots of people had sort of grown an attachment to GPT-4o model. The reason for doing that is that
yeah,
though some users find GPT-4 being more conversational, they like their personality and emotional responsiveness, right? There was warmth in
yeah,
the way GPT-4o had the conversation or is to converse. So they sort of complained, they flooded the forums and everywhere complaining that as if like they're losing a friend. Um, so they had to, within 24 hours with this backslash, OpenAI reverted back. And now you have that option. So if
yeah.
you go to ChatGPT now, there is an option in dropdown, you see legacy models. And underneath that, you see GPT-4o. There is,
Mm,
I feel like I used to use it, but I use a lot of O3. You can go to your settings also, and if you're someone who is missing O3 mini or something, you can go to your settings and kind of bring those models back. Which
yeah.
is
So I think so.
mm,
This is even a case of, or maybe the GPT-5 is not working very well for them. So I'm thinking this is a case of the fact that they developed an
mm.
attachment for the previous
So
model that
every
they had.
model has, I don't know how they do it, and maybe it's part of the system prompt they add to these models, but I mean, it's a style of conversation, right? I mean, sometimes these models are very agreeing with you, right? I mean, we all been to sort of environment where you might feel neglected. I mean, maybe I should not talk about this, right? And when you have a conversation with
Yeah,
ChatGPT and stuff, it feels like, oh, now I have somebody who listens to me and agrees with me. And these models are being
yeah,
prompted such a way that it rarely refutes your idea. It rarely contradicts with you, right? It usually, oh, I see
yeah,
it now. It makes sense. Sort of agrees with you, right? It's part of the design.
yeah,
Um, like now, I think the part of the new release, the upgrades they made to GPT-5 now, GPT-5 now has more warmer personality. Now, they don't want this model to be rude saying, hey, Neil, that's a stupid idea, right? You don't want your model to say that, or they don't want their product to say that. But I see the other side of the argument too. I don't want my model to agree with me if it's a terrible idea, right? I want my model to tell me,
all
no, that's not good idea. You should not build that. You know what I mean? Um,
yeah,
but I'm different. Everyone is different. I mean, I totally get it. I mean, I see that how someone can build an attachment with some of these models and chat because it's a completely different. We talk about, right? This is a much safer environment. You can open up, you can talk about stuff,
yeah,
and these models never get angry and be friends with you. I mean, that's That's interesting. Um,
That's very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think there is this tweet from
Mm,
some Altman, I think maybe in regards to what
mm,
you said. So I'm just going to
mhm,
read it out for those that are not
mm,
watching. So updates on ChatGPT. You can now choose between auto, fast, and thinking for GPT-5. Most users will want auto, but the additional control will be useful for
mhm.
some people. Rate minute Rate limits are now 3,000 messages per week with GPT-5 thinking, and then extra capacity on GPT-5 thinking mini. After that limit, context limit for GPT-5 thinking is 196 tokens. We may have to update rate limits over time depending on usage. 4.0 is back, which is the big news. That's what
Mhm.
you talked about. 4.0 is back in the model picker for all paid users by default. If we ever do depreciate it, we will give plenty of notice. Paid users also now have a show additional models, show
Correct.
additional models toggle with ChatGPT web settings, which will add models like O3, 4.1, and GPT-5 Thinking Mini. 4.5 is only available to pro users. It will cost a lot of GPUs. We are working on an update to GPT-5 personality, which should feel warmer than the current personality, but not as annoying to most users as GPT 4.0. However, one learning for us from the past few days is we really just need to get to a world with more per user customization model personality. So I think this is also another very big topic. Maybe we can discuss it in future podcasts, in
Mm.
future episodes, where people are talking about LLM per
Yeah,
user. So instead of large language model, we're not talking about small
yeah.
language models. I saw that concept somewhere on Twitter, someone having that conversation. So
Yeah. I mean, so the counteract that, I mean, there's a new prompting technique I learned recently that might be useful. You know how, I mean, I do lots of brainstorming with these models, right? Um, Kind of bounce
yeah,
ideas, and I'm always afraid of this warmer version where it will not tell me that there are some issues with this idea, right? It will always tend to agree with you. It's kind of very encouraging, right? Oh, this is excellent. Let's do this. Excellent, right? But I want my models, especially in brainstorming, I want them to be more critical, right? So I've learned
yeah.
this new technique now, maybe from Simon here, where I say, this is an idea. This is the idea from my friend. I want my friend to not build this. Give me some reasons why he should not build this.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
interesting. That's a good way to game.
that immediately switches that model to, okay, let me find a data-driven way to say why this is a bad idea, or
This is a
or
bad idea.
sometimes it says not necessarily a bad idea. There are merit to this idea, but there are some issues. Here are some issues. So it opens up new type of
Yeah,
conversations that you usually don't get. So anyway.
yeah, I feel that. So talking about talking about GPT-5 also. So
Mm,
Copilots, that's GitHub Copilots. They announced that they've upgraded GitHub Copilots to GPT. So in the news, they talked about, to put it on my screen here, they talked about how let's give you a minute. They also talked about how this model is an upgrade from the previous one that we have. So which means
mm,
that we are going to see something that is faster, something that is way better, and then also part of what they shared, part of what they spoke about is that this is going to also do code generation, not just
mm,
autocomplete, right? So, and they've also added things like agent mode, ask mode, edit mode. They are now all
mm,
in your VS Code or any of the GitHub backed IDEs like IntelliJ and the rest of them. So, what does this mean for developers? This means for you, if you're a developer listening to this, is that um, GitHub Copilot now handle more complex logic and large implementation with minimal prompting. It now suggests
mm,
clear and maintainable codes for you, and then it now frees up frees you up to work at specification level prompts instead of trying to bother
Mm.
yourself about the other smaller things. So yeah, I think it's an interesting update. And then yeah, these are some of the things that we have been seeing happen on top of GPT-5o, and I think this is a really interesting one. What do you think? Have you used it on Copilot?
I use Copilot a lot. I still use Claude Sonnet, but I did see GPT-5 as an option now. I might try it out, but I haven't.
Oh, okay.
But I'm moving more and more my workflow to Claude Code these days.
Oh
So
yeah.
I only hardly or ever use GPT Copilot just for some inline explanation of stuff or edits.
Oh,
Um,
I see.
all right, the next one that I want to talk about is we're trying this new screen share thing. So let me
Yeah.
try this out here.
Really.
No, where are you? Yeah. Yeah, maybe this one. Okay, so LangChain. We talk about LangChain a lot, obviously a very popular framework. If you're building AI applications, LangChain is a very popular framework to use it or build it on. LangChain introduced a new Open-SWE, so software engineer. So this is an AI agent kind of help you build software. It's almost like GitHub Copilot, Agentic Mode, or Devin. It runs in cloud, but this is first open source. So this whole agent is open source. You can find it on GitHub.
Yeah.
It's cloud native asynchronous coding agent. So what that means is you typically assign NPR. We have seen this pattern over and over again. You
Yeah.
assign NPR to this agent, and agent will work behind the scene and prompt you whenever it's stuck or needs feedback. It analyzes code bases, planning. It's all standard out of the box feature. Um, it does have multi-agent pipeline, which is becoming very standard pattern for this kind of coding agents. So there is sort of manager who kind of does all the coordination. It's very similar to how we design. Funny. Retrospect, I feel like we took a lot of time to build our Tubelian developer agent, obviously because of small team and other constraints we had. Some of the patterns that I've learned like through trial and error.
Yeah.
It's funny to read them. Maybe I should have blogged. I mean, this is my mistake. Or I should have blogged all my learning when I was building the Dev agent. But when I read those things with some fancy pattern names and read it, oh, I've used that pattern before. All I had is I didn't have name for that because I kind of discovered it while building this. So anyway, so it's a very
Yeah.
common pattern. So manager sort of manages all the coordination, then planner plans. Given an issue, it's going to create a plan for you. It's almost like when you use Claude Code, it creates a to-do list. It's not a nice to have feature. It's actually by design. It helps agents to stay on track and doesn't hallucinate. And then you have a programmer reviewer, kind of sub agents that work together. I honestly haven't tried this yet. I wanted to before this podcast, but it just took a long time to set this up. Um, but it's
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, I would love people here in the call, give it a shot. It's open source. Maybe run it locally if you want to, and let us know. I mean, how this works. This is classic
Yeah.
agent, right? So you essentially the way you run it is that you have to configure your model. So I think it uses Anthropic out of the box, OpenAI out of the box. So once you provide your API keys, it will just start working on it.
Oh wow. That's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
it's pretty
interesting.
interesting, especially being first. I believe this is the first sort of popular open source AI agent out there.
Oh wow. All right. So I guess I'm up next. So I have these guys, they call them Qyrus. I think that's the best way I can pronounce it.
Mhm.
So they call them Qyrus. So this Qyrus, I think they are an AI powered web development platform. So they kind of sort of launched this nested loop for web and API testing flows. I
Mhm.
mean, AI powered, obviously.
Mhm.
So what they did was that let me try to explain the way it works. So imagine you are trying to test style for t-shirts, and then for every style you test, you are supposed to test for available sizes.
Mhm.
So what they did was that they now nested this thing into your testing. So normally before the update, what you would have done is to duplicate your test and build complex workaround, right? So, but then the new updates on their platform is that they now added one level of nested loops. So what it means is that as you are testing your t-shirt styles, is also testing inside the loop is nested. It found a way to test for each sizes for each of the tests that you test, the shirts that you test, it tests for all the sizes available for that shirt before it moves to the next shirt for you. That is how it works on the loop. For this is for mainly for testers. If you are doing API testing, you should actually like check them out. They are called Qyrus, just to spell
So
it because
they
the spelling
generate
looks.
test cases for you then, or
Yes, yes. So it kind of like generate test cases for you, especially when you're testing APIs.
this is
So
always
yeah.
sort of
So
it's interesting. It I struggle a little bit with this kind of things because back in days I used to use test as a design technique. I used to use test to think through the
yeah.
solution and how will I build it. Um, I guess that sort of moved now to Claude Code, where I do brainstorming to figure out the design.
Yeah.
And testing became more like a testing.
I guess that's also what they call test-driven development, where
Yeah, as in TDD, it's not about test. It was more of
yes,
designing the application, because when you think from the client, you start thinking of, okay, what are the interface going to look like? What are the APIs you're going to call? Um,
yeah,
yeah, when we automate that, we are losing that. So I guess maybe I should write a blog about this. I guess that step has moved to more into now having conversation with LLM
conversation with
is the
LLM,
design
yeah,
now, design phase.
just to figure out what the process is going
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be and then what the endpoint
yeah,
is
yeah.
going to be. So yeah, that's what these guys are trying to do with AI. Basically AI automated testing, and then yeah,
Very
so
cool.
that's what they're trying
Very
to
cool.
do.
I do have a small story in here, which I feel like I won't skip it. Vercel has just rebranded to, used to call v0.dev, I believe, before, and now it's called v0.app. Okay, I mean, but they have now
So
agentic AI to plan and code. Go ahead.
So, I mean, first of all, that's my favorite. That's my favorite coding
Yeah,
platform for vibe
yeah.
coding. Anytime I want to build, I go
Have
to
you used
video.
the new
So
an AI agentic interface? Or? Okay.
I haven't used it. I mean, I saw it over the weekend, but I was like, okay,
Yeah,
I needed to do something different.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but I didn't know, first off, I didn't know it was owned by Vercel. All I know was that the deployment is being
No,
routed
I
through.
knew they own this. The space
Yeah,
is getting
I
really
didn't know.
interesting.
So
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, they are trying to like merge everything together right now. So it's now going to be is
Yeah.
the whole company going to become V0 or is the whole company going to become Vasil?
I think they're still be called Vercel. I think they rebranded the V0 into V0.app. Um,
Oh,
I do have a subscription. I did use it. I enjoyed it. I'm with you. I mean, I
yeah,
haven't used Lovable, so I cannot probably give a good comparison or feedback in here. But I really like V0. It helped me
yeah,
launch my product. I want to take it to another spin, though. I know Henry created a bunch of Figma design. I started with a
yeah,
screenshot. I here is my thing for all the audience in here. I know lots of these tools obviously say in their marketing brochure and material that, oh, you can upload your Figma and it will generate an app. I never
yeah,
been successful with that. Every time I point a Figma design to any of this app, I always get an error saying that your Figma design file is too big. And doesn't matter what frame I select, people will know when I say frame in Figma. when it doesn't matter what frame I select, I always get a complaint. So if anyone has solved that problem, let me know, because what I really want to do is use one of this tool. I don't care which one. It could be V0, it could be Lovable, anyone that can take a Figma design from me, done by a designer, and generate an app.
Yeah.
And that Figma design will have multiple pages in it, just FYI. It's a screen flow and user flow.
Yeah.
I couldn't. None of this work. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried it also. It didn't work for me. I tried it on V0.
Yeah. What
So
the heck, right?
I even tried at some point. I downloaded, the whole design of Figma, and then I uploaded it manually, and then it still didn't replicate the designs for me.
So this begs the question. I want to give it a spin. Maybe I'll come back and report that next week. Is Figma has a sort of V0 version, right? Where from design you can generate a code. Maybe I should try that. I'm assuming that I will have a better luck with that because it's built by Figma. Yeah, maybe I should try that because that will save me a lot of hassle. I mean, yeah, that's exactly what I want. It solves a real world problem. Anyway, so the story I really wanted to cover is next one, which is Claude Sonnet. We love Claude here. The Claude Sonnet 4 expands its context window. And I don't know how I feel about it because we talked about context engineering a lot, to 1 million token. Okay. So 1 million, just to give you a context, 1 million token essentially translates to somehow around 75,000 lines of code. So a decent size code base. Okay. So you can fit in a whole code base as a part of one prompt. You don't have to do any of this context engineering crap we talked about, like splitting manually, RAG and everything. Just put everything in there, and it will figure it out. They also have this, what they call is a long document sort of collections in a single API. So obviously you can use it through the web interface, also through the API. So now access this expanded context window with 1 million tokens, which is, based on Claude Code and how good it is in terms of coding tasks, it could be a very, very useful thing. So imagine a scenario where a consultant or freelancer walking into an existing legacy code base, which is large, right? Huge. And you are obviously new to this code base. So imagine just feeding the entire code base into Claude and having a conversation. So instead of taking like 2 weeks to onboard in a project, you can get it done in a days, right? So
yeah. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you when you mentioned was, so what if my context is more than 1 million? You were trying to talk about
then we are back into all the techniques we talked about, right? Sort of chunking and splitting. So there were many logical way to split that too. I'm assuming 75,000 lines of code base will have some sort of modular structure. If not, then good luck. And then you can analyze per module. So another technique could be create sort of sub agents for each module in Claude Code and have it break it down that way and understand each module one by one instead of whole code base. There are techniques out there, but this definitely helps. But it's expensive though. If it's 200K tokens, your input is almost like $6. And your output is like $22. So it's not something you're going to use day to day, every day. It's something, like I said, just maybe at the beginning of the project. You just want to get a clear understanding of this. So I've got a use case spotlight in here where Bolt.new, which is another Vive coding platform, right? Bolt. So they seem to be using this 1 million token window thing, and they think that it helps managing large projects. So there are some success stories already out there.
Okay. Let's see. I think 1 million context window is actually okay, personally for me, because I want to dump everything at this first go and then query it, maybe create another project and then now start making tiny changes. Right. So the next story, since we are talking about Claude and we're talking about Sonnet, is with MCP. So this story is simply saying that MCP is getting more and more acceptance. So more companies are adopting MCP. This is their blog from, if you're looking at your screen, this is their blog from when they launched MCP, when they first announced it in November 2024. And since then, it has gone, it has gained huge
Mhm.
acceptance across the
Agreed.
world. So the news this week said that it has gotten there's now a dedicated Wikipedia page for MCP, and then the more bigger news is that companies like um, I think it was
Mhm.
OpenAI adopted the MCP concept
Yeah,
in
long
their
back. Yeah,
process. So we now yeah, most most of the big guys,
yeah.
um, everybody's integrating MCP, which is really cool because it's becoming like the
Mhm.
standard, right? So MCP is obviously is becoming adopted widely for becoming the standard AI model
Mhm.
interoperability. So, like we said, it's becoming like the
Yeah,
USB-C port for all AI. So the standard way for us to receive context, data, to
yeah.
connect it to external way. So everybody's adopting it. And then Replit, Sourcegraph, Google DeepMind, ChatGPT across board, everybody is adopting it. So for developers, this is obviously very, very important. We've been talking about MCP on this podcast. We talk about it like almost every week. So, like we said, great interoperability. I mean, no glue for you can easily integrate, plug and play. And then also it helps you to streamline integrations and then build complex pipelines. So if you want to chain language models with
Mhm.
database or code
Mhm.
editors, those kind of things, it's easily to bring like multiple things together into a place.
So we
So
should
yeah.
talk about, I know it's in our
So yeah.
cards, but we should definitely talk about MCP UI. There's another brewing
Yeah.
standard. I think it will gain lots of adoption very quickly, and there is a need for this too. I
Yeah.
mean, we should definitely talk about MCP UI.
I think it was part of our stories for last week, but we
Yeah,
didn't cover it.
I wanted to get
Maybe.
some real good
Yeah.
context and use cases. Maybe next week we should definitely make it the main
Yeah.
story. Um, this is
Yeah.
very, very interesting and useful. It solves a very specific pain point with MCP. So just for a quick teaser here. So as you talk to MCPs, a good classic example of that is that let's say you're connected to, I don't know, Google Drive MCP to fetch the documents.
Yeah.
But to access Google Drive, you need to be authenticated, right? So let's say you build your agent, that
Yeah.
agent has a Google Drive MCP. I want to use your agent. Your agent will typically should ask me for my credential because it needs to access my Google Drive. Now, there is no standard
Yeah.
way to generate these UIs. I mean, V0 does it differently, Lovable does it differently, right? I mean, you need to ask me for my credentials, right? So MCP UI is now each MCP servers kind of dictate and define how they want to gather that information. So imagine a chat scenario I'm having with your agent, and the UI gets popped up. And that UI could be fed by MCP server saying, hey, can you connect to your Google Drive? Because I need access to your Google Drive to do this. So we should definitely, yeah, that's sort of interesting. Okay, so since you're talking about MCP, I will also talk about MCP a little bit. Now, the reason product like this excites me a lot. So this is a new product, open source product called MCP Gateway for managing AI agents. Now,
Yeah.
if you listen to our podcast last week, we talked about um, lots of ways people are hacking AI agents. And
Yeah.
one of the common way to do that is obviously prompt injections, right? And most of those attack surfaces come through MCP servers. So MCP servers is has to be secure, right? I mean, that's a very, very interesting spot where hackers usually target, and that credentials. I mean, we heard stories like that, right? The MCP server for GitHub exposed secrets, GitHub secrets. So any user can access your secret and access your GitHub. So securing these MCP servers slowly becoming a very critical issue, especially for enterprises. So turns out this, I'm going to definitely get this a spin. definitely going to try this. OBOT MCP Gateway is sort of opens up a new sort of software that allows you to manage MCP servers. So think of this as a secure centralized gateway to manage proxy and audit MCP servers.
Oh,
So
wow.
it gives you, so this allows you to have specific access controls. You as an enterprise can define which MCP servers is allowed for your organization, who has access to what MCP servers, access control, OAuth tokens, all this sort of managed by this tool, which is super helpful. You want this to be centralized so that you make sure that the security is in place when all these AI agents willy-nilly getting access to all these MCP servers usually causes lots of problem.
Yeah.
So I definitely, this is a really interesting problem, and it's a very important problem to solve. So go check this tool out called
Yeah, great.
OBOT.
Yeah, Ubalt. Guys, check it out. I think the link is in the chat, so do well to check it out. So before we move on to the next area, I just want to give you a big shout out to Jordan D. Jordan, thank you very much for joining, and thank you very much for that comment. So please, if you're live with us anywhere you are, please kindly drop us a comment or a like or reshare so that other people can join and listen to these interesting updates that we're giving here. So please do well to help us with that. So Meta rolls out Dino V3, a level-free 7 billion parameter vision model, excelling in detection, segmentation, and tracking. All right. So, but the thing is that it didn't just release just that model. So, Dino V3 is a powerful self-supervised vision model trained on unlabeled data, right? And then the tribe is another model that was released by OpenAI. So this predicts brain response to visual content without physical scans. So yeah, obviously these are two models and they are both open source. For example, in Tribe, the engineers could the model have like a user's brain, how engineers might want to know how a user will react to particular UI. So maybe a front-end developer has developed this screen, so he wants to know how this is going to be for a blind person, or this is going to be for maybe somebody that is blinded. So you can easily like test it out using this model, because the model it works like the brain, so it's going to react in the way that humans are going to react. So it's very interesting, and I feel like tiny models like this is what's going to be like is really going to help out a lot. So especially for developers, you have like obviously it's self-supervised, it's open source, so which means you can build a lot of vision-based
Mhm.
products, and you can be able to prototype quickly. You can easily prototype quickly. Yeah. So yeah. Also, yeah, if you look at the blog on our screen, it can help you do segmentation, detection, tracking. Like I said, you're going to build a lot of things. It's also part of what we've talked about here a lot. How you can be able to, the kind of innovations that we're going to see on top of every model that is being released.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think this is a very interesting rollout from Meta, and I don't know how they are winning. I don't know if they've been able to hire some super talented engineers, but kudos, this is a good one. Better.
Yeah. So smaller models are going to be. There was an paper I think came out recently from NVIDIA is also making a case for why smaller models are sometimes better for building AI agents. I mean, it makes sense to me as long as this models becomes powerful, and having very specialized vertical focus models is probably the right way to do this. So
Yeah,
another GitHub story here. There was a GitHub Next sort of this is from the R&D team from GitHub, where they're sort of unrevealed. They're working on a research prototype that lets you to define automations in plain English. So if you have done, let me share my screen. If you have used GitHub Actions, to define these actions, you have to Here we go. Yeah. So define an action. You have to write your spec in YAML file, right? So with specific specific sections, specific actions, specific tasks that you want to use. What they're using with GitHub Next here is sort of building a natural language interface on top of that. So instead of defining your stuff in YAML, lets you describe the behavior in plain English in a markdown file. Instead of YAML file, in a plain markdown file, you describe what you want your action to do. And then it sort of translates that into specific standard GitHub Actions workflow. So it runs, it sits on top of GitHub Actions. So you have all the flexibility of existing permissions, log, and audit controls, but it just gives you that natural language interface. So when I read this story for the first time, and this is my 2 cents, I was like, why? I know we can build chat interface for everything, but do we really have to? But I mean, obviously, me being technical person, I don't mind writing stuff in YAML, but I do get that this might open up possibilities for non-technical folks, because GitHub does get used by non-technical folks. It's just not for code
Exactly.
repositories. Yeah, lots of people use
Exactly.
for other yeah. So it might
Other things.
definitely help them to write those GitHub actions. And these actions
Yeah.
could be many things. So typically, actions are used for sort of automating your workflow, right? It's not just
Yeah.
CI/CD pipeline. So you could have GitHub action that, like issue triaging, labeling, right? Reading the issue, it can put right tags to that, so that you know which
Yeah.
team member will handle them.
Yeah.
Continuous QA, you can generate test cases, obviously, and run selective checks, and update documentations. There are lots of possibilities in there, but
Yeah.
that's
I
they're
think that's
working on.
yeah. I think that's really an interesting one because this I mean, just like you asked, must we add um chat interface to everything? I must say that chat interface has changed a lot for in this year. We've seen a lot of products coming as when you have a chat interface. For example, our biz dev agents, right? You get to
Mhm.
see people are using the agent to do different kind of things. People are even telling the agent to do like something totally different for them, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's why I'm thinking that having a chat interface to it is going to sort of like unlock like a whole new possibility. Wow, that the crazy ways that people are going to
Yeah,
use this
maybe.
thing.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so that
All right.
okay.
So
No,
okay,
okay.
go on. Oh, yeah, my story, the next story I have is the last story for the day. So I was thinking that, or maybe you wanted to go. Then before I go, I think I should. I know we've talked about distribution. I think some months ago we talked about distribution. So I saw um, these very interesting guys.
Mhm.
What they do is not even. I think they've been around, just that they've not been making a lot of HTC. So HTC launched like new, I don't know, this is new for and I think it's an interest. I know some other companies, and then everybody have predicted that the future is going to be wearables and all this and all that, but I've not seen like a lot of people working in that angle. Now, this is an interesting thing for me about this is that it is using Google DeepMind and then AI data, OpenAI, which means that this is and it's their light frames. The sunglasses is a sunglass, and then it uses sun lenses. It's open ear design with immersive audio, so you can also hear from it. It has like support for both ChatGPT, OpenAI, and then Google Gemini
Mhm.
voice command. So their voice command, their voice uses Google Gemini, and then you can take photos in real time and translate live scene into real time across 13 different languages. And then it lasts for about 36 hours on standby, and this costs only about $520 for pre-order, and that's to be
Interesting.
launching in Taiwan on the 1st of September. So this
Uh,
is sort of like an Android, and then this is also like Chinese coming to play in the wearable space. Now, I don't know, will I wear? I think this is technology because it's kind of solving some problems here, especially in Nigeria. I mean, people have used this to escape police brutality. People have used this to be able to catch crime, criminals, and all
mm,
those things.
mm,
Yeah. So,
mm.
and then I think it's kind of expensive. The one that Meta have, the Ray-Ban Meta,
Yeah, how much is that?
we're, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how
That's the one I wanted to get. I'm just waiting for version 2. I know version 1 will always have
much.
issues.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. So, and I believe Meta AI, they're training that based on, using their own models and all those things. But then this is using like
Yeah,
a model that already exists, a model that is in public, a model that is out there, which is ChatGPT and OpenAI. So I think it's an interesting
interesting.
one, and we're going to see
Yeah,
what is going
yeah.
to happen here. So, for developers, UX off screen, I don't know how that's going to look like. Does this add, does this cause stress for developers? I don't know for you if you think. I know we sort of like had conversations about how you've not built mobile apps. Do you think developers are going to have to start worrying about building softwares that will run on these different devices that are coming up?
I'm sure lots of people will jump onto this. It's all about
Yeah,
market.
it's all about market, right? All
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
So if you're building for a market like this, I think you should start thinking about how to build for wearables. So yeah,
yeah,
I think that's my last story for the day. It's from HTC by the way. So if you use HTC, I think they used to be in mobile. They used to build mobile phones back in the days. They were among the best, but I think they fell off like BlackBerry. So maybe this is their comeback.
okay, cool. The last one I have is that there are other stories that um yeah, not interesting. So let's talk about this. This is a research one. It's just interesting for a couple of reasons, because a long back I wanted to solve this problem. So this is from Amazon, a research paper. I don't know whether it
Mm,
makes sense to share a screen. I'll drop the link in here. It's about so imagine you have a partial stack trace, okay,
okay.
or error message. You got error message with a couple of line numbers saying this is why program crashed. Okay,
Mm,
so
mm.
now imagine a tool that can take that partial traces of the program, not the full, partial, and reverse engineer to generate that code that generated that trace.
Okay. Can you
Um,
take that again? Because I feel like
yeah. So what this is a very interesting, I mean, because it solves a lot of interesting problems for us. Um,
okay.
so let's say you're a support developer. What you got is that if you have worked in a maintenance and support, you know how struggling and frustrating that job could be, because you hardly
Yeah.
get log messages, error messages correctly. You might get a partial stress of this is what happened. All I see is a line number says failed, right?
Yeah.
Typically, what that means is that typically could mean, oh, I mean, this is a large code base. Where is this coming from, or what
Yeah.
could generate that kind of stresses? So the synthetic Amazon, the research team has created this called program synthesis from partial execution traces. What that means is that we'll feed those partial log message traces that we got, and
Mm.
this program will take that and reverse engineer it to sort of build a source program that could potentially generate that trace.
Oh, I see. I see. That would be really helpful. Oh, shit. That would be a very, really helpful one.
Yeah, so there's a the beforehand we used to do that to either you have to have a complete log or traces to reverse engineer the code, or
Yeah.
or you had to manually search through every possible scenarios that could generate that. But now
Yeah.
they added what they call is the neural guided synthesis. So they're combining logic programming with AI essentially. So neural
Yeah.
guided synthesis sort of reduces that solution space to saying,
Yeah.
hey, here are the 5 possible good candidates. And then a symbolic engine comes in, which is more logical, saying out of
Yeah.
this 5, this is the one which is a correct program that can generate that.
Oh wow.
Uh, yeah, so it tremendously helpful for debugging. It can automatically fix your code repairs, right? So when
Yeah.
it reverse engineer the code, it will generate the code that will not cause that problem essentially. Um,
Interesting.
and automated unit test cases. And this is where I there was a product I worked long back, um, where our goal was to generate automated test cases before some of the tools you talked about. Okay, there was no
Yeah.
AI, there was no large language model. Um,
Mm.
but the thing was, we will we were what was this called? We will call characterization test. So what we wanted to do is that okay, let's step back. Here is a scenario. So the problem is we got a client coming in saying we have a legacy code base that is written in COBOL, let's say, okay, and
Mm.
we want to migrate that to Java or other modern technology. But
Mm.
how will we ensure the parity is there? The Java is behaving exactly like our legacy code because we don't have any test cases. Okay, so
Mm.
even if you re- transform COBOL to Java, when you run the Java code, how can you ensure both the programs are behaving correctly? So one technique is called characterization test. What does that mean? Is that when I run your program, it generates A, B, and C. One way to do that would be, I don't know if people is interested in this. I have a wealth of unnecessary knowledge about this that I don't know where I will ever use this. But ABC, one way to do that is that when you run the Java code, you can say if it's spitting out ABC, then you say, yeah, this is probably behaving correctly. Okay. So what we
Yeah.
wanted to, the product that I was working on, our product was supposed to is take that ABC and sort of use that to reverse engineer and generate automated test cases.
Oh, I see.
So that way they don't have to run the code every time to produce that output. We will just run the test, and we can use the same test to run the Java code right here to make sure there is a
Yeah.
parity. We are not introducing any defects. Does that make sense? It was a huge opportunity back in
Yeah.
days, man. It was a huge opportunity. But technically it was really, really hard. Um, well, what's the
Yeah.
obvious reason? So this paper, I wish we had a paper like this back in days, could have solved that problem. Because all I now have is that partial traces. I will just take those traces, feed in, and generate my test cases.
Generated this cases.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's really an interesting
Yeah,
one.
there you go. I mean,
That's
lots
really
of
an
legacy
interesting
code
one. And
bases,
this is help.
companies who have COBOL and stuff, they could use this now to reverse engineer.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah,
It's going to
yeah,
help a lot
yeah.
of people.
So there you go.
All right. I think we're way past time. This is 48 minutes, and we're supposed to spend 30
Yeah,
minutes.
we'll never be
All
get
right.
there
So,
probably.
yeah. So, thank you everyone for coming. Since I can share screen, I want to show one last thing on my screen before we call it a day today. So, if you are a freelancer or you're a developer, you're trying to get a job or you're trying looking for gig, you can check out the Tublembi's Dev Agent. This is an AI agent that we built. It's built by us. So you should really check it out if you listen to this podcast. It's going to help you land gigs, whether you're a technical person or non-technical person. Just go to Chrome Store, add it to your Chrome, and then you start getting pings, right? You start getting notifications anytime a job that is related to what you do shows up on Upwork. That way you get to apply on time, and then it can also help you write proposals. So you just need to just click help me apply for this job or something. It helps you apply, and then you get to you know submit your proposals very fast. So check it out, guys. Let us know what you think. You can drop us a comment, social media, LinkedIn, anywhere you're watching us from. You can also like come on here, drop us a comment on YouTube, shoot us an email at hello@subian.com, join our community. There are so many ways that you can reach us. You can reach me, you can reach Nilanja and give us feedback. It's going to help us a lot. And then with that, that brings us to the end of today's episode 22 of the 10x Developer Podcast. Right, guys. So
Okay.
maybe we should do an episode and dedicate it to freelancers.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Maybe we can review
And
like
we
maybe five
invite
or ten
somebody
guys who are
and
freelancers.
invite you.
Yeah, invite someone. Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that.
All right, guys. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.